Summer break had finally arrived, and I found myself alone at home. My mom, Sarah, had just returned from visiting her sister for a couple of days, only to immediately head out again to catch up with a friend. Dad had left on a 2-month business trip the week before. As an 18-year-old college freshman with the house to myself, I knew exactly how I wanted to spend my time. The moment Mom's car pulled out of the driveway, I locked the front door and stripped off my clothes. I gathered my usual supplies, tissues and liquid soap, and settled in for what I knew would be a long, enjoyable session of self-pleasure. Time flew by as I indulged in my favorite pastime, taking short breaks to recharge and browse through various adult websites. Before I knew it, over 4 hours had passed. Usually, Mom stayed out much longer when visiting her friend, but today it seemed the gossip well had run dry. Completely absorbed in what I was watching, headphones blocking out any outside noise, I failed to hear the front door open. Suddenly, I heard Mom's voice, filled with shock and disbelief. "Oh my God, Jake. What are you doing? Stop that right now." I froze, mortified, as Mom rushed out of my room. The surprise of her sudden appearance left me stunned, unable to fully process what had just happened. As the reality of the situation slowly sank in, my mind raced. What should I do? How could I possibly explain this to her? After what felt like an eternity, I mustered up the courage to approach Mom. I found her in the living room, her face a mix of disappointment and embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, Mom," I stammered. "I didn't know you'd be home so early. It won't happen again, I promise." Mom didn't say a word. She just looked at me, clearly upset, before silently making her way to the kitchen. We spent the rest of the evening in uncomfortable silence, drinking tea and avoiding eye contact. The tension in the air was palpable, and I couldn't wait for the day to be over. Despite the awkwardness of the situation, I found myself unable to resist the urge to finish what I'd started earlier. After dinner, I retreated to my room, leaving the door slightly ajar so I could hear when Mom finished washing the dishes. I thought I was being clever, but Mom had her own plan. She turned the kitchen faucet on full blast, masking the sound of her footsteps as she crept up to my room. I was completely oblivious until I heard her voice behind me. "It's okay, Jake. Just keep quiet." "It's all right." I nearly jumped out of my skin, frantically trying to close the browser tabs on my screen. Mom walked into the room, her eyes drawn to the adult content still visible on the monitor. "I just wanted to say that I shouldn't have yelled at you earlier today," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "At your age, this is normal. I understand." "Mom, I'm so sorry," I began, but she cut me off. "Shaish, wait. I just want to know, how often do you do this?" Embarrassed but feeling I should be honest, I replied, "Well, every day, Mom. Sometimes several times." "How many is several?" she pressed. 3 or 4 times, I guess." She nodded, processing this information. "Do you have a girlfriend?" "No, Mom," I admitted. "All right," she sighed. "I just want you to know that I understand. You're young, and your body has needs. Don't be shy with me about this. If you enjoy it, I don't want to stop you. But I can't go out 3 or 4 times every day so you can have privacy. Just do what you need to do and ignore me. Okay?" Before I could respond, she turned and left the room, leaving me utterly perplexed. How had this conversation even happened? It felt surreal. A few days later, during dinner, Mom casually asked, "Jake, did you take care of yourself today?" I nearly choked on my food. "Mom, well, Jake, we agreed. If you want to, don't be shy with me. Everything's fine." Yes, I remember," I muttered, still uncomfortable with this new dynamic. "But it's okay, son. Don't worry about it. Let's finish eating." I couldn't believe this was happening. It felt like I was living in some alternate reality. After dinner, I retreated to my room, still processing this strange new normal. A few minutes later, Mom appeared in my doorway, wearing her usual house robe. "Come on, turn on one of your videos," she said nonchalantly. "Mom, please don't do this," I pleaded, feeling my face flush with embarrassment. "No, Jake, We need to get past this awkwardness, she insisted. Let's watch that video from yesterday. What was it about? Reluctantly, I typed in the search terms and pulled up the video we had accidentally watched together the day before. Turn up the volume, Mom instructed, and I obeyed silently. She stood next to me, watching with what seemed like genuine interest. Our eyes met briefly, and I quickly looked away, focusing intently on the screen. Go ahead, Jake, Mom encouraged. Do what you normally do. She left the room briefly, returning with another chair, which she placed next to mine. We sat in silence, watching the video together. After a few minutes, Mom spoke again. All right, son. You can do this whenever you want now. Don't worry about me being home. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I was in a daze. Had yesterday really happened? Had I actually watched adult videos with my mom? The whole situation seemed absurd, yet oddly exciting. As I sat at my computer later that day, I heard Mom return from grocery shopping. Feeling bold, I decided to test the waters. I pulled up the same video from yesterday and slowly increased the volume, loud enough that it could be heard in the kitchen. The rustling of grocery bags stopped, and a moment later, I heard Mom's footsteps approaching my room. My heart raced as she appeared in the doorway, a small smile on her face. She walked over and gently stroked my head. Good boy, Jake. Go ahead and enjoy yourself. With that, she left my room, leaving the door open. I sat there, both relieved and strangely disappointed. But then I noticed something odd. The apartment had gone completely silent. Curious. I crept out of my room to investigate. I found Mom's bedroom door closed, which was unusual for this time of day. As I stood there, wondering what to do next, I heard her call from the kitchen. Lunch is ready, Jake. Just a minute. I called back, my eyes still glued to the screen. Jake, everything will get cold, Mom insisted, eventually coming to drag me away from the computer. Lunch was a quiet affair, with minimal conversation. I asked if she had heard from Dad and when he might be coming home. Mom's face fell slightly as she replied that his trip had been extended. I miss him, she added, a note of sadness in her voice. Despite the events of the past day, there was still some tension between us. However, as the day wore on, the atmosphere began to lighten. We managed to have a few normal conversations, smiling and joking like we used to. That evening, we watched a couple episodes of Game of Thrones together before retiring to our respective rooms. It was nearly 11 p.m., but I wasn't ready to sleep. I decided to indulge in my nightly ritual, this time opting to watch on the big TV in the living room. I had just settled in when Mom emerged from her room, as if drawn by some sixth sense. Oh, you decided to watch out here? She asked, sitting down next to me on the couch. Next time, call me. I want to watch too. What? Always? I asked, surprised. Well, when I'm home, yes. Call me and we'll watch together. As we sat there, Mom broke the silence. Do you like her? This actress? Yeah, Mom. She was in yesterday's video too. Can you believe she's 47? 10 years younger than me, but still. She does look great, I agreed. Must work out a lot. Mom laughed. Is that a hint? I grinned, relieved that we could joke about this. Suddenly, Mom stood up. Where are you going? I called after her. I'll be right back. I have a present for you. I completely forgot. She returned a moment later, her hands behind her back. Guess which hand, she teased. Right, I said, playing along. It's my favorite. Mom smiled, pleased with my response. She handed me a small package in a black bag. As I began to open it, she explained, I thought you might find these useful. I don't know, I've never used them myself. Inside the bag was a set of high-quality headphones. I looked up at Mom, seeing a satisfied grin on her face. Do you like them, son? Wow. Thanks, Mom, I managed to say, genuinely touched by the gesture. Well, go ahead and try them on, she encouraged. As I put on the headphones, testing their sound quality, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me was disappointed that this was all she had gotten me, but another part was relieved. It was a thoughtful gift, one that acknowledged our new understanding without crossing any lines. "That's enough for tonight," Mom said, standing up. "Time for bed. I'll clean up here." "Yeah, good night, Mom," I replied, heading to my room. "Good night, Jake," she called after me. As I lay in bed that night, my mind raced with thoughts of how quickly my relationship with Mom had changed. I wondered what the coming days would bring, both excited and nervous about this new dynamic between us. The next morning, I woke up feeling a strange mix of excitement and apprehension. The events of the past few days had completely altered my relationship with Mom, and I wasn't sure how to navigate this new dynamic. I made my way to the kitchen, where Mom was already preparing breakfast. She greeted me with a warm smile, acting as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. "Good morning, Jake. Did you sleep well?" "Yeah, thanks," I mumbled, still feeling a bit awkward. "The new headphones are great." Mom nodded, pleased. "I'm glad you like them. I thought they might come in handy." We ate breakfast in comfortable silence. The tension from the previous days seemingly dissipated. As I finished my coffee, Mom cleared her throat. "Jake, I've been thinking, we should probably set some ground rules about our new arrangement." I felt my face flush but nodded for her to continue. "First, let's keep this between us. Your father doesn't need to know about our little understanding, okay?" I agreed, relieved that she felt the same way. "Second, if you're going to indulge in the living room, just give me a heads up. I don't want to walk in unexpectedly again." "Sure, Mom." "That's fair," I replied, grateful for her surprisingly practical approach to the situation. And lastly, she added, her voice softer now, "If you ever want to talk about anything, and I mean anything, I'm here for you. No judgment, okay?" I nodded, feeling a surge of affection for her. Despite the awkwardness of our situation, Mom was really trying to be supportive and understanding. Over the next few days, we settled into a new routine. I continued my usual activities, but now with a sense of freedom I hadn't experienced before. Mom kept her word, never making me feel ashamed or embarrassed about my habits. One evening, about a week after our initial conversation, I was in the living room, enjoying a particularly enticing video on the big screen. I had given Mom the agreed-upon warning, so I wasn't worried about her walking in unexpectedly. To my surprise, she joined me on the couch, a glass of wine in hand. "Mind if I watch with you?" she asked casually. I shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant despite my racing heart. "Sure, if you want." We sat in silence for a while, the only sound coming from the TV. I couldn't help but notice Mom's reactions from the corner of my eye. She seemed genuinely interested, occasionally sipping her wine and shifting in her seat. "She's quite attractive," Mom commented, nodding towards the actress on screen. "What do you like about her?" I hesitated, unsure how to answer. Well, I guess I like her confidence. And her, curves." Mom chuckled. "I can see that. You know, I used to have a figure like that before I had you." I glanced at her, surprised by her candor. "You still look great, Mom," I said, feeling a bit awkward complimenting her in this context. She smiled, looking pleased. "Thank you, Jake. That's sweet of you to say." As the video continued, I found myself becoming increasingly aroused despite, or perhaps because of Mom's presence. I shifted uncomfortably, trying to hide my reaction. Mom noticed my discomfort. "Jake, honey, it's okay. Remember what I said? Don't be shy with me. If you need to take care of things, go ahead." I froze, unsure if I had heard her correctly. "What? Here? Now?" She nodded, her expression reassuring. "If you want to. I don't mind." In fact, she hesitated, then continued, "I could give you some pointers, if you'd like." My mind reeled at her suggestion. This was beyond anything I had imagined when we started this new arrangement. Part of me wanted to run to my room in embarrassment, but another part, a stronger part, was intrigued by her offer. Slowly, hesitantly, I nodded. "Okay," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Mom set down her wine glass and turned to face me. "All right, first things first. Relax. You're too tense. Take a deep breath." I did as she instructed, feeling some of the tension leave my body. Good, she continued. Now, start slow. Don't rush it. Following her guidance, I began to pleasure myself, all the while acutely aware of her presence beside me. It was surreal, having my mother coach me through this intensely private act, but I couldn't deny the thrill it gave me. As I continued, Mom offered more suggestions, her voice soft and encouraging. That's it, Jake. Pay attention to what feels good. Vary your rhythm. Her words, combined with the visual stimulation from the TV and the novelty of the situation, quickly brought me to the edge. Mom, I'm close, I gasped. It's okay, honey. Let go. Don't hold back, she murmured. With a muffled groan, I reached my climax, waves of pleasure washing over me. As I came down from the high, I felt a mix of embarrassment and exhilaration. Mom handed me a box of tissues, a small smile on her face. Feel better? I nodded, unable to meet her eyes. Yeah, thanks, Mom. She patted my knee affectionately. You're welcome, Jake. I'm glad I could help. Now, why don't you go clean up while I fix us some dinner? As I headed to the bathroom, my mind was spinning. What had just happened? How had we gone from awkward conversations to this? And more importantly, where would we go from here? Over the next few weeks, our unconventional arrangement continued to evolve. Mom became more involved in my activities, offering advice and sometimes even joining me in watching videos. She never participated directly, but her presence and guidance added an exciting new dimension to my experiences. One afternoon, as we sat together on the couch, Mom turned to me with a serious expression. Jake, I think we need to talk about something important. My heart raced, wondering if she was having second thoughts about our arrangement. What is it, Mom? She took a deep breath before continuing. I want you to know that what we're doing, it's not typical. Most mothers and sons don't have this kind of relationship. I nodded, feeling a knot form in my stomach. I know. Are you? Do you want to stop? To my surprise, she shook her head. No, that's not it. I just want to make sure you understand that this is special, private. And it doesn't mean that our relationship has fundamentally changed. I'm still your mother, and I love you as my son. This is just an unusual way of me supporting you through this stage of your life. Her words both reassured and confused me. I understand, Mom. I love you too, and I'm grateful for your support. But why are you okay with this? Most moms wouldn't be. Mom was quiet for a moment, considering her answer. I suppose it's because I remember how difficult and confusing these feelings can be at your age. I didn't have anyone to guide me, and I made some poor choices as a result. I want better for you. I want you to be comfortable with your sexuality, to understand it, without the shame and secrecy I experienced. Her honesty touched me deeply. Thanks, Mom. That means a lot to me. She smiled, pulling me into a hug. You're welcome, sweetie. Now, how about we watch something a little tamer tonight? I heard there's a new nature documentary on Netflix. As we settled in to watch the documentary, I felt a newfound appreciation for my mother, despite the unconventional nature of our relationship. Her motivations came from a place of love and a desire to protect me. The weeks flew by, and before I knew it, it was almost time for Dad to return from his business trip. Mom and I both knew that our special arrangement would have to change once he was back. The night before Dad's return, Mom came to my room. Jake, can we talk? I nodded, setting aside the book one had been reading. Sure, Mom. What's up? She sat on the edge of my bed, her expression serious. Your father comes home tomorrow, and things will have to go back to normal. I just wanted to check in with you, see how you're feeling about everything. I considered her question carefully. I'm okay, Mom. I mean, I'll miss our arrangement. But I understand it can't continue with Dad around. Mom nodded, looking relieved. I'm glad you understand. And Jake, I want you to know that I'm proud of you. You've matured so much over these past weeks. I hope that what we've shared has helped you in some way. It has, Mom, I assured her. More than you know. Thank you for everything. She leaned in and kissed my forehead, something she hadn't done since I was a little kid. "You're welcome, sweetheart. Remember, even though this particular aspect of our relationship is ending, I'm always here if you need to talk. About anything." As she stood to leave, I called out, "Mom?" She turned back. "Yes, Jake? I love you." Her face softened into a warm smile. "I love you too, honey. Always." The next day, Dad returned, and our household dynamics shifted back to what they had been before. But something had changed between Mom and me. We shared a secret, a bond that went beyond the typical mother-son relationship. In the years that followed, I often reflected on that summer. While some might view what happened as inappropriate, for me, it was a time of growth, understanding, and unconditional love. Mom's unorthodox approach had given me a confidence and self-awareness that many of my peers lacked. As I navigated relationships and my own sexuality in college and beyond, I carried with me the lessons Mom had taught me. Her openness and acceptance had shaped me in ways I was only beginning to understand. Our relationship remained close, though we never spoke directly about that summer again. It was our secret, a chapter in our lives that had brought us closer together while teaching me invaluable lessons about love, trust, and self-acceptance. Looking back, I realized that what might seem unconventional to others had been, for us, a beautiful expression of a mother's love and a son's trust. It was a summer that changed everything, yet changed nothing at all.
Thanks for joining me on this wild ride. If you loved this story, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more shocking tales of family drama and Reddit gold. Want to hear another crazy story? Click the video right here. Until next time, stay curious.